Hey, so I'm here to make another video about, this time it's about goal setting for your long-term and short-term goals. And so using myself as an example, my my long-term goal, or sorry, the first lesson that I want to give is that having a goal that is flexible. So for me, my my goal is to try to get first place at the Olympics. So it's going to be at the very, very top. But the really key important part of this is try to get that. So I don't care if I actually get it. I don't care if I come second place. I don't care if I don't even make it. I don't care if if I'm not even like best in Canada or whatever. The goal is just to try to get to the highest. And so I need to map my plan out. How do I get there? Move this a little higher. And so what I've done, so first, having a flexible goal is good because even if I don't make it, I'm gonna do a lot of great things while getting there. And so it's all about trying. If you're a long distance runner or if you're any endurance athlete or really any athlete, you should really be focusing on the competition aspect. You're just trying to compete because you love what you're doing. If you don't love what you're doing, then you don't have to do it. Nobody's forcing you. So that's the first thing. Second thing is figuring out what your long-term goal is. Now, many of you, it's going to be pretty easy. You might already know what you want. Like, oh, I want to run, a sub 20-minute 5K, or if you're probably watching this channel, I'm trying to make this for more intermediate / elite athletes. So, you're probably going to want sub 15, sub 14. Maybe sub 13 5Ks. It's probably unlikely. But the key takeaway is figure out what your long-term goal is, how you get there. And then, so I'm rolling out right now, so this is kind of just doing this off the top of my head. So the next part is, okay, so you figure out your long-term goals. And so figure out, like, what do you need to do to get to those long-term goals? Because something like a sub 15 minute 5K doesn't really come out of nowhere. Like, obviously, there are some people who are way more gifted than others, but at the same time, you're still probably putting in a lot of work, even if you're pretty talented to hit a sub 15 minute 5K. So you have to understand, how do you get there? So for me, I would say, like, probably the standard for like a sub 15 5K is at least like 100 kilometers a week of training, which for some people may be like a lot. Wow. I'm only running maybe like 40 kilometers a week, like 4 times a week, 10 kilometers. And then maybe I'm doing like other sports like on the other days, or I'm really busy or something. And that's fine. So how do you increase that, like, slowly? So let's say you want to run sub 15 minute 5K by the end of the year, and you're already running like you're running maybe a 17-minute 5K. So you need to really improve that. So I would always start with, well, what are the most fundamental things about what you do? And for long distance running, it's your aerobic capacity. That's one of the most fundamental things you need. Obviously, speed, anaerobic, all that stuff, VO2 max, super important, but not as important as your base. So I would start with, okay, so let's say during base training, if I'm starting from scratch, I do my base training. So I'm going to need to aim for at least 100 kilometers a week. And that should be that should be very normal for you. So don't just be like, this is my peak. Like, you can maybe do 110, 120, but you want to make sure that you're at least, like, you can do 100 without getting injured, sort of thing. And so you should start with that. So how do you get to 100? Let's say you have a year to go from like 40 to 100. So that's like a 60 kilometer difference. And so you have 12 months. And so, well, okay, if you're racing on there, maybe you have like 8. Let's say you do base training for like 6 months. I know people like to do it for a lot shorter, but if you have long-term goals, base training for much longer I think it's more important. It's more boring, but if you want to get results, put in the boring work. So for 6 months, 60 kilometers once, 10 kilometers a month. So next month you're doing 40 kilometers. And the month after you're doing 50 kilometers, and you're still putting in like a bit of speed work in between. You're still having your maybe a tempo run or your intervals like once or twice a week. But then everything else is just aerobic capacity. And so for me, I'm trying to increase my my mileage to 100 miles or 160 kilometers by next August, and it's January right now. And I'm probably going to be at about somewhere between 110 to 120 maximum for my weekly kilometers. Sorry, I'm speaking in, when I say mileage, I'm speaking in weeks, not in months. So when I say 100, I mean 100 per week, so that's 400 a month. But yeah, so so that means by March, I kind of want to be doing 130-ish. By May, I want to be doing 140. By June, I'm gonna try to maybe get to that 150-ish range, and by July I'm around 150, 160, and then August should be a comfortable 60. So that's kind of like what I want. So what does that mean? Okay, so so right now I'm doing about 120 ish, but it's really tough. So for my body to handle 120, so I do the 120, and then I sit on it, or I even go down. So if this week, or if this 10-day cycle for me is 120 kilometers for a week, then that means for my next week I'm probably going to bring it down to like 100, and then the week after that I might have it somewhere in the middle, or maybe even bring it back up to 120. If I bring it back up to 120, because I want to let my body recover, then by the 4th week of January, I want to bring it back down to 100, or maybe 110, somewhere in the middle. And then after, probably 110 makes more sense. And then in February, if I can, the weather in Canada is really rough, I'm going to bring it up to maybe my 130 mark. Try to 130. If I can't, that's fine. I rest, then I go back to like 110, and then I try again 130. And if I can do it at that point, then I just try to sit on it, and then maybe I go back down to 120. If my body's like handling it well, maybe I take like a week off, because I've increased twice in a row. Maybe so by March, maybe I'm just doing 100, or even 90 or something, just to let my body recover a little bit. You have to remember that you make progress like this, right? You always need some space to recover, so that your body can adapt to this change. Do not try to go from 120, 120, 120, 120, then 130, 130, 130, right? This did not work. And so for my longer goal, it's going to be, by next year, by next year, July, I want to be doing about 100 or 200 kilometers a week, and comfortably. Because that's what a lot of the really elite athletes do, like Mo Farah and stuff like that. So, and this is just from the mileage perspective. This isn't even from the speed perspective. Obviously, I'm going to try to do some of my speed workouts when my coach tells me to. But the goal is really to increase my mileage. And then once I'm comfortable at that mileage, I can bring it down. And then once I bring it down, I can... it allows room for me to start adding my anaerobic capacity, my VO2 stuff, my speed endurance, all those things. So for running, if you're watching this and you want to know how to improve like your 5K, start with the fundamentals. Start with the mileage, and then plan out how you're increasing your mileage. And this can go for anything, for any sport. What's the most fundamental thing about like basketball? I would say probably shooting and dribbling. So just worry about shooting and dribbling. Don't worry about plays. Don't worry about like step backs. Don't worry about like whatever. Just focus on fundamentals. And then once you get really, 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 really good at this fundamental, then that's when you can start expanding. I think this is true for everything. We call them fundamentals for a reason, right? First, have a flexible goal that you are willing to sort of like change and adapt. Two, have a long-term goal. Like I said, still flexible, but make sure it's fairly long-term. So for me, I have a few goals in the future. So by 1 year, this is what I want to be at. At 2 year, or at a year and 6 months, this is what I want to be at. And then at 2 years, this is what I want to be at. And then by like 4 years, this is sort of where I want to be at. And then from there, I'll reassess with like a final goal that I want in like 8 or 9 years. But those last 4 years, I'm not sure. I'm gonna leave that open for for me to change if I need to change. Next, have short-term goals. What are you doing next week? What are you doing today? What are you doing tomorrow? Really make sure that you know what you're doing tomorrow. Are you resting tomorrow? You should know that you're resting tomorrow. Okay, good, that's fine. But then what am I doing after my rest day? Okay, don't try to obviously plan out every single day. But my point is, go with what your body feels. If your body feels tired today, then don't run today. Okay, if your body feels fine the next day, then great, you can train the next day. And if it feels good the day after, you can train that day too. But then if you start to, I'm starting to get tired on like the third day, well, okay, maybe the next day I can still run today, but the next day that's going to take my rest break and we're fine. And then you sort of see, okay, I've made this much progress over the past like 2 weeks. So yeah, short term. Yeah, okay, so that's pretty much everything I wanted to say. If you have any questions about how to improve or how you should be doing your mileage, I'll probably be post another video about that. But I just wanted to record this and just share my thoughts about how you set goals. I hope this helped. Maybe it didn't. Maybe I said a bunch of nothing. If I did, dislike this video. Destroy that subscribe button. Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for watching.